Welcome to National Liberty Alliance's weekly call. Today is Monday, September 1st, 2025. We broadcast live every Monday from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're listening over Rumble or YouTube and would like to ask a question or make a comment, you can go to nationallibertyalliance.org and click on our weekly call for instructions to join us by phone, app, or browser. If anybody would like to email a question, you can send your questions to questions, it's plural, questions at nationallibertyalliance.org. Please support our business partners. You can find their banners on the right side of the website, of which the proceeds go to support NLA's effort to save our republic. Also, please support NLA's by donating $5 a month or more. Click on the donation tab on the top right side of the website. Okay, we're going to pick up with our scripture reading where we left off last week. We're in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 20. Gospel of Luke, chapter 20. Let me see, I may not have that other thing open yet. Nope, I don't have it. Give me a second. It'll be another minute here. Okay. All right. Gospel of Luke, read by Alexander Scorby.
Chapter 19.
Chapter 19, I'm sorry.
And Jesus entered and passed through Jericho. And behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus, which was the chief among the publicans, and he was rich. And he sought to see Jesus, who he was, and could not for the press, because he was little of stature. And he ran before, and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and saw him, and said unto him, Zacchaeus, make haste and come down, for today I must abide at thy house. And he made haste, and came down, and received him joyfully. And when they saw it, they all murmured, saying that he was gone to be guest with a man that is a sinner. And Zacchaeus stood and said unto the Lord, Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor. And if I have taken anything from any man by false accusation, I restore him fourfold. And Jesus said unto him, This day is salvation come to this house, for so much as he also is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man is come to seek and to save that which was lost. And as they heard these things, he added and spake a parable, because he was nigh to Jerusalem, and because they thought that the kingdom of God should immediately appear. He said therefore, A certain nobleman went into a far country to receive for himself a kingdom, and to return. And he called his 10 servants, and delivered them 10 pounds, and said unto them, Occupy till I come. But his citizens hated him, and sent a message after him, saying, We will not have this man to reign over us. And it came to pass that when he was returned, having received the kingdom, then he commanded these servants to be called unto him, to whom he had given the money, that he might know how much every man had gained by trading. Then came the first, saying, Lord, thy pound hath gained 10 pounds. And he said unto him, Well, thou good servant, because thou hast been faithful in a very little, have thou authority over 10 cities. And the second came, saying, Lord, thy pound hath gained 5 pounds. And he said likewise to him, Be thou also over 5 cities. And another came, saying, Lord, behold, here is thy pound, which I have kept laid up in a napkin. For I feared thee, because thou art an austere man. Thou takest up that thou laidst not down, and reapest that thou didst not sow. And he saith unto him, Out of thine own mouth will I judge thee, thou wicked servant. Thou knewest that I was an austere man, taking up that I laid not down, and reaping that I did not sow. Wherefore then gavest not thou my money into the bank, that at my coming I might have required mine own with usury? And he said unto them that stood by, Take from him the pound, and give it to him that hath 10 pounds. And they said unto him, Lord, he hath 10 pounds. For I say unto you, that unto every one which hath shall be given, and from him that hath not, even that he hath shall be taken away from him. But those mine enemies, which would not that I should reign over them, bring hither, and slay them before me. And when he had thus spoken, he went before, ascending up to Jerusalem. And it came to pass, when he was come nigh to Bethphage and Bethany, at the mount called the Mount of Olives, he sent 2 of his disciples, saying, Go ye into the village over against you, in the which at your entering ye shall find a colt tied, whereon yet never man sat. Loose him, and bring him hither. And if any man ask you, Why do ye loose him? Thus shall ye say unto him, Because the Lord hath need of him. And they that were sent went their way, and found even as he had said unto them. And as they were loosing the colt, the owners thereof said unto them, Why loose ye the colt? And they said, The Lord hath need of him. And they brought him to Jesus, and they cast their garments upon the colt, and they set Jesus thereon. And as he went, they spread their clothes in the way. And when he was come nigh, even now at the descent of the Mount of Olives, the whole multitude of the disciples began to rejoice, and praise God with a loud voice for all the mighty works that they had seen, saying, Blessed be the King that cometh in the name of the Lord, peace in heaven, and glory in the highest. And some of the Pharisees from among the multitude said unto him, Master, rebuke thy disciples. And he answered and said unto them, I tell you that if these should hold their peace, the stones would immediately cry out. And when he was come near, he beheld the city, and wept over it, saying, If thou hadst known, even thou, at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace. But now they are hid from thine eyes. For the days shall come upon thee, that thine enemies shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round, and keep thee in on every side, and shall lay thee even with the ground, and thy children within thee. And they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knewest not the time of thy visitation. And he went into the temple, and began to cast out them that sold therein, and them that bought, saying unto them, It is written, My house is the house of prayer, but ye have made it a den of thieves. And he taught daily in the temple. But the chief priests and the scribes and the chief of the people sought to destroy him, and could not find what they might do, for all the people were very attentive to hear him.
Okay, Terry, do we have any questions tonight?
Yes, we have about 3. I can go oldest or come to the youngest. There were 2 that were submitted after the deadline of when the program starts last week. IRS levy question and a question for tonight. I don't know if you answered those. I don't remember.
Well, ask him and we'll see. I don't remember.
Okay.
Maybe I'll remember or not.
100,000 applicants for the 10,000 ICE positions. Why not take the other 90,000 and train them for the well-regulated militia? Have you heard of Pastor David Whitney, constitutional educator through biblical studies? Why can't we see a video of tonight's presentation? It seems like a still frame all the time, and it's hard to follow. I've been sending people to your website for answers. Hopefully they sign in.
All right, yeah, we did ask this question last week. I believe it was somewhat of an answer, but I'd like to maybe expound a little more on that. I know Brent Allen Winters, author of The Excellence of the Common Law, he wrote a book on the militia. There should be a link somewhere on our site connecting over to him on that book. We do have some information, and we also wrote some information off of that book by permission concerning the militia. That you can find, of course, under Starter Committee of Safety, under Handbooks, Videos, and Tools. Now, I'd have to really look a little deeper into this, but I'm pretty sure, well, I do know, first of all, the militias are state-controlled. They're not federal-controlled, so we have to be careful with that.
Did we start the recording?
Yes, I believe we did. I'll double-check. Hang on a second.
Thank you.
We do have it. Thanks. I know. We did forget that once a couple of weeks back. So, anyway, and that was a good program, I think. Good questions. Anyway, it is state-controlled. The president has the power and the authority to call forth the militia in any state, numerous states. I believe he can even use that militia from one state into another state. And, of course, it is the state that is to organize that militia within the state. There is a criteria, and I don't remember what it was. A third of the counties or something like that had to be involved in order to finally come to the point where you have a state militia. So at least a third of the counties have to be involved in that. There's the unorganized militia in New York's Constitution. I know it says that every able-bodied person, doesn't even say male, female. I do believe it gives an age. I forget what the age is. But in any event, every able-bodied person must respond to the call for the militia in an emergency in order, of course, to protect the boundaries, or whatever was necessary. Of course, I don't like that, but I'm talking about the state and, people in government here, the enemy at least. So there's a lot of things we have to look at into the militia. I don't know that you can take a full group of people from one place and try to work it out, and you definitely can't do it on a national level. Although they have to some degree, of course, with the National Guard. The National Guard is presumed to be the militia. There are some problems with that. Probably first and foremost, well, actually, they are broken up by the states, so they do operate reasonably close. I know I've spoken with Brent about this maybe once or twice, and he found that there were certain problems that need to be corrected on that. And maybe one day, when people get enough involved, we can correct that problem. But nevertheless, they are there, and it runs very close. It's up to the people of the state to join the militia. So, I mean, if those group of people were encouraged to get more involved in the militia and they did so, well, then that's fine. Now, that's voluntary. But again, in an emergency, every single person within the state is part of the unorganized militia. And everyone should be armed. If you go back into the days of Benjamin Franklin particularly, he was really big on this, and probably was key in structuring and organizing, the process of the militia. But he had mentioned that every person should have a weapon and so much ammunition on hand at all times for the purpose of a potential emergency. But that's about all I can say on that. But it would be it is a problem from the federal level. Of course, they do get federal funding, but it's the state. It's the state that's supposed to take control of that militia, and the organized militia, that is. Okay, next question. That's all I got on the militia.
Okay, but also he asked, why can't we see a video? Don't you post the Monday Night Call video on Rumble?
Yeah, we put it on Rumble. We have it up on YouTube also. It's an old, well, it's been around for a long time, but they've shut me down so many times on YouTube over the past, 15, 17 years, whatever it's been. And we got to the point, we do have something up there. We don't get many hits on that. I don't know if that's by design by them or we just don't put out enough information to really get any attention. I don't know. We do have a Rumble page, and that we get some hits on, and it's probably the best one to go for. You can find it on the right-hand side of the website. I'm scrolling down to take a look to see where it might be, that people might be able to click on it. Where is Rumble? I know the YouTube is there. I just passed that. Maybe I put
There was. I saw it. I saw it go by.
Did I just pass it?
Yeah.
By the way, here's something on the militia. There's several states, Brent down in Winters. So if anybody wants to get more information on that, well, he must move something around on his site. I'll give him a call on that. So, all right, but anyway, you can find it. Am I still going the right way, or should I be going up there, Harry?
I think it was above this.
Yeah, I think I just about as low down as I came. I probably should push that up towards the top. There's
I agree.
Right up Rumble, right on the top of YouTube. But anyway, Rumble, you can click on that, and you can come to our website and get all of our different videos that we've put up here for quite some time now. We also put our Bible studies up there. And
I saw it again.
I think I'll push this up. Excuse me?
I saw it again, just right before you went to this. If you go back, you might be at that spot.
You talking about this?
Yeah, right before you went to this, you clicked on something.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, right there. It's Rumble, right there. Did you see it?
Right. And I'm going to push it up. Yeah, I can see it. This is it here.
Okay, good.
And I'm going to push that up when I get a chance to do that. Now, we do put on all our recordings up on the website also, but it's connected to Rumble particularly. So if you wanted to, for instance, if you wanted to see the Monday night videos, you'd go to today's issues and just come down a couple of spots and you'll see NLA Monday Open Forum videos. One of the problems with this is Rumble, if you are a paid, I'm a paid to Rumble and I'm also paid to YouTube, so I don't watch all the commercials. But if you are a paid subscription to Rumble and you don't get the commercials, unfortunately when a video is embedded into a website, you do get the commercials, even though you have a subscription. So if I'm on a website and I'm watching something through that, I'll usually come down. I'll just show you real quick. Most people, I'm sure, know this already, but you come down to the bottom right. I'm not going to do this because I realize it's going to take a while to get to it because they'll play the commercials before I have that ability. Right here, you can click on Rumble.
It does take a long time for those to come up, and we haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah, and that's all on Rumble's side. Rumble is not as well connected and put together as YouTube. They've been around a lot longer. They are a lot faster. A lot of other things. Rumble crashes a lot, but it is a place where we can put things up, and we, they don't try to shut us down or tell us what words we can use or can't use or anything of that nature. Like right now, it seems to be again a disconnect. So I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe it could be a certain time when a lot of people are hitting it up. I noticed that at the end of the Bible studies, which we do between 7:30 and 8:30, that we have a real tough time uploading those, which is around 8:30, 9 o'clock. I'm uploading, and we have a real hard time connecting and making the upload. Maybe because a lot of traffic and they're not as well structured, maybe as YouTube. Monday night programs, I do usually, I'm able to post them up, post them up a lot quicker up onto Rumble. So, again, but it is what it is. Once they start, it's good. The other thing is we also have on the education starts here, if you go to Bible studies, you can find the different studies that we put up on Rumble. We did the Gospel of Matthew, we did the Book of Revelation, and we're now doing the Gospel of John. So again, we have all these videos available. If you miss a Monday night, you got the whole week. Get a chance, you can come and listen in on it. Same thing with the Bible studies. We only do that once a week, and you have the whole week to click in if you missed it. So okay, I think where are we at with questions now?
I think that you've answered those first ones. The next one is also from last Monday night. It has 5 questions. So stop me if you've heard the questions. Do you want them all at once or one at a time?
Give me one at a time to see what we may have done or not.
IRS levy question. Can I challenge jurisdiction on a levy done without any notice to my employer?
Well, we did cover these questions. We'll say something real quick. The key thing to defeating and dealing with the IRS, I don't think they're going to be around very much longer. The Fed is on its way out. There's some correction with the gold value right now. I can't believe that the gold that we are holding is valued at only $45 an ounce, which is unbelievable. 45 or 65, I forget what it is, but something like that, some ridiculous number. And whereas gold at this point in time is, I believe, over $3,000 an ounce. But that tells you a little bit of a problem that we have. Now, getting gold, that's another question. But gold is what's going to kill the Fed. We're going to go back to the gold standards. I would imagine, I think one of the biggest mistakes that Trump has made, and I can't believe he's made this mistake, and that is with Bitcoin. Bitcoin, in my opinion, very, very strong absolute opinion in my mind anyway, is nothing but a pyramid. You got to be in early and take your money out, which a lot of people have done. I mean, you go in there. I've heard this sounds ridiculous, but this is what I've heard. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but you'd be able to, when it first started out, buy Bitcoin super cheap for dollars. I don't know how many dollars, but you'd be able to buy Bitcoin very cheap. Today, that Bitcoin that you might have bought in the beginning, they say, is enough to be able to go buy a house or a car. I'd imagine whatever values those might be, I don't know. But someone can correct that with me if that's wrong. I have done some research on Bitcoin, and I just ended up being totally confused. Never get to the point of where they're getting this money from. It never gets to the point. I haven't been able to find any of that. What backs it up or anything of that nature. So that's a major problem. I know Trump is leveraging Bitcoin and gold, and he doesn't say silver, but I got to imagine silver too. Silver is one of the biggest usage of money anyway. Silver coins, silver dollars, quarters, dimes, half dollars, silver dollars. 20 silver dollars would equal 1 ounce of gold when there was no inflation, when there was no manipulation of our money, when money was just money. And of course, all that fell apart as soon as the Fed came into being. Almost immediately, the gold relationship to silver fell apart very, very quickly. And I remember when I was young, my first remembrance of anything concerning silver, I remember going to a pawn shop with a friend of mine who had some jewelry, and he needed some money. And at that time, and you got to believe this is the late 60s, maybe 69, maybe early 70s. At that time, gold was going for like $310, if I recall, an ounce. So it tells you where we're at, what a big problem we have. The dollar's worth about 3/4 of a penny, literally 3/4 of a penny. What you could buy with a penny would be more than what you could buy with $1 today. And that just goes back even close to my time when I was growing up. But of course, we're talking about going all the way back to the turn into the 20th century, when the Fed came to be and the IRS. Well, that came as time went on, but the Fed came to be, and therefore the beginning of destruction of our monetary system. But anyway, gold is what's going to kill the Fed. The Fed's on its way out. I hope sooner than later. I kind of think it's going to be gone by next year sometime. But we'll see what happens. Let me think more. What's the next question? We were talking about the IRS. Yeah, the key thing with the IRS, if anybody missed this, you can go back to last week's program and listen in, because we did spend a little time. We spoke about 2 particular forms that are required by the IRS in order to do business with you. Their business, their funny business, and that is a Form 56 and a Form 4490. And those 2 forms are required in order for them to come out after you. And they are affidavit forms, and they must be filled out. And that's how I beat my IRS case some years back when I discovered these forms and raised them in the courtroom and said, I haven't seen these things, where are they? And they're supposed to be filed down in the federal district that you live in that federal court building. Now, you can go down and you won't find them there. That's where it's registered. If they got a lien on you, it would be filed in the federal court, and then they'd do a notification to the county, where they would then, the county that you live in, where they would file the lien, the local lien. And I think it's 7 days by law after they file a lien to come out after you. That gives you time to rebut. Of course, all this stuff is secret, they don't tell you. But that gives you time to rebut that and potentially prevent that lien from being placed. Now, a notice of lien is exactly that, a notice of lien. It's not the lien. There is no lien to begin with. I don't believe I know anyone that's ever truly got a true lien from the IRS. Not that they haven't been existing. I'm sure they are, and it's been done. But they have to be affidavit forms. All of the liens that I'm familiar with people that I know that got liens, myself included, for a couple, there was 160,000 or something like that. All of the liens, they were not, they were unlawful. They were fraudulent. They made up the numbers. They make a claim. They filed that lien. And then the counties, where they used to not go forward with that, because they don't have the possession of the actual lien. It's just a notice of lien, which means nothing. So there's no proof, there's no affidavit, there's nothing to go upon. They really can't go forward lawfully to get you. Now they will, because they do mock courts, they play games, they stack the juries, and so on and so forth. But if you catch it early enough, that's why if anybody has an IRS problem, never ever avoid them. Again, I spoke last week about this. You can get more information there. Never avoid them. Answer every time they send you a letter. You have to answer. And you play dumb, which you're not really playing dumb. It's true. Where does this come from? I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not aware of this. I'm a law-abiding citizen. If I owe a tax, I want to pay it. Please inform me. Let me know. You have to, every time I send the same letter out, maybe a few words changed, juggled around, or whatever, in a sentence or two. It doesn't matter. Every time they send me a letter, I send the same thing out. And usually they take 90 days to respond. In this case, they might take more than that. And then they'll respond with, well, we're still reviewing the problem. We'll get back to you. We need another 90 days, blah, blah, blah. And then it just disappears. I always put in there also that, and I send the forms with them. One is fiduciary authority. The other one is a proof of claim. Both affidavit forms. You can Google that any time, or search engine at any time, shall I say. It's Form 4490 and Form 56. Those are the two forms. And with that kind of a letter responding, because look at what they're doing, they're trying to get you to acquiesce. They keep sending you letters, and you acquiesce, you agree. They send you another letter, you acquiesce. You still never run from these people. Run at them, and put those forms in there, and ask for the information, and tell them how you are a very lawful individual. You want to obey the law, and please let me know what I owe, and where does this come from? Please fill out these forms. However you want to word it, doesn't matter. But that's the key. Now again, last week's call, I believe it was last week, unless it was the week before. I'm pretty sure it was last week. You can ask, you can go there and hear more. Okay, next question. We don't need to go through the IRS questions anymore, because we did hit every one of them last week.
Super. This is a long one, and it looks like it has 3 or 4 questions in it. It's talking to dear organizer. I'll jump in, and you tell me if I need to go and jump down to the bottom.
Okay.
I am a new member of NLA. In a nutshell, joined because of the valuable information foundation and structure it offers to help bringing the changes necessary for this country to return to its roots and the essence it was built on. I am in Jacksonville, Florida. Introduction. In the summer of last year, I had to close my retail shop due to a combination of economic downfall and drug trafficking behind my small standalone building, including firearms use and shooting in full daylight. I came across the following short books. 1. Meet Your Straw Man. 2. The UCC Connection. And 3. Common Law Handbook for Jurors, Sheriffs, Bailiffs, and Justices. The information I discovered in Meet Your Straw Man was so out of my world that I had to reread it at least 3 times. My eyes were open. I could not go back to whom I was before I read the book. Add to it the fact that a couple of months before I shut my business down, one of the credit card companies decided to send me a warning letter. It read, I paraphrase, the interest rate on your credit will rise from 21 to 33% in 45 days. If you wish to avoid or disagree with this change, you may pay the balance in full before this new rate goes into effect. Obviously, due to the business and financial condition I was in, I was not in a position to honor their proposition. By the way, I funded my business with my own savings, then credit card debts. In the pit of my stomach, in my heart.
Wait, who sent him that letter or her that letter?
They do not say.
Okay, go ahead.
In the pit of my stomach, in my heart, I knew that something was not right. How is it that during all the time that my bank accounts show a high amount of capital, the credit card companies enjoyed my money payments and left me alone. How is it possible that the moment my bank account started showing signs of my own economic hardships, the interest rates on my credit cards starting to change upward? It was during all these questioning on my part that I came across your books and, quote, Fruits from the Poisonous Tree, unquote, by Mel Stamper, J.D. Following Mel Stamper's step-by-step process as written out in his book, I initiated a formal communication with every credit card company. I did so while I stopped using them and eventually returned to them the credit card in the name of the person of Claudia, I won't say the name, as it appears on each of them. One credit card company had merged during my communication process and had sent or sold my note, which in the jargon of the financial institution is called a debt, to a collection agency. The attorney based in St. Petersburg, Florida, was in this company. The plaintiff filed in the court of a county in Florida a complaint, and I received a summons to appear for a pretrial conference mediation for the defendant, and she put her name down. The sum, and it's all caps, the sum is $5,492. The court date for mediation is October 7th October 2nd at 1:30 p.m. I should feel the emotion of fear. I don't. Instead, I feel the emotion of anger. Anger because of all that I know, thanks to Meet the Straw Man, Fruits of the Poisonous Tree, and now I'm reading and digesting painfully the content of High Priests of Treason. Questions. Please enlighten me in regards to best practices when I appear in the courtroom on October 2nd. My goal is twofold: not pay what I believe I do not owe. The thieves are hungry for money and use all subterfuges possible to make me create money, and I want to use the situation to help bring clarity and truth to those in the courtroom and outside. In other words, I want to start a movement. I want to awaken as many customers or consumers as possible to this specific trap. And then, the financial institutions, through one of their tentacles, the credit card use as a means to enslave we the people. Second bullet point, I do not want to seek a lawyer's advice to represent me. I do not trust, and I find it ironic that I've had to pay money to a lawyer who does not know what I know. Third bullet point, instead, I should be paid by them to educate them so that they can represent me. I could offer a retained lawyer the books I read and have them work with me on the basis of this information against the plaintiff on October 7th. What are your thoughts? They got 2 or 3 more bullet points with some questions. Would you like me to continue, or would you like to answer that much?
Well, let me just respond to what has been said. I hate to say this, unless you really understand the court system law and what's really going on here, it will crush you in court. You're not going to be prepared to be able to respond. And when you go into court, when they're pulling you into court, you should do a counterclaim. There's quite a few things you can do on the counterclaim. Like anything else, even with the credit card, they still have to have a proof of claim that has to be notarized. It's an affidavit form. They also have to show a contract. And when it comes to credit cards, I think this is a credit card thing, isn't it? Yeah, it's a credit card. Yeah, when it comes to credit card, there is no real contract. It doesn't exist. And usually whoever you got the credit card from, especially when it goes out for collections, they package it up and they sell it. Maybe a group of lawyers will buy it, and then they go out and they just try to suck you dry and threaten you and frighten you and do all these things. And some people, they actually do take to court, depending on the amounts and so on. The other thing is you can give the lawyer all the books you want. They're not going to respond to those books. First of all, they don't believe it. After all, they just paid $250,000 for their education. They did their time, so to speak, and and they know what they know, and what you know is not true because they've been taught a lie. So that becomes one major problem even to get through to a lawyer. Second, even if you were to get through to a lawyer, it's still not going to represent you and deal with you on this issue the way you want to, because the judge won't permit it. If he tried to, and he knows that, or she knows that, the judge would pull them in the back room and say, okay, it's enough. You're not bringing this stuff anymore. You continue under this fashion, you're not going to have a license there. Not that they have a license, but they think they do. It's just a union card. But that union card is required to work in their courts. These are civil law courts. It has nothing to do with us. They're courts outside of the courts of justice that should be there. But they closed the courts of justice. Those doors have been closed at least since 1934, or 38, shall I say. And a lot of doors have been shut prior to that. But now it was at that point that the whole system shut down. Courts of justice are no longer available in the United States. The Constitution doesn't exist in the courts, and they'll work their way around that every time. The first thing that you do if you're going up against them, if you do a counterclaim, well, the counterclaim's a little different, but in my case, when the IRS came out after me, I had 7 days to respond. I immediately sent notice and demands to my banks, letting them know if they participate with that, I'm going to sue them, and because that's revealing private information. They don't have a warrant to get that information. So I create the letter and send it to them. The other thing it did is, of course, file a court case, and I connect my banks into the court case. I've sued all my banks. I sued the commissioner of the IRS and the agents that knocked on my door. Sued them all. And that's how I got into court. Now, from that standpoint, of course, they try to throw you out on the one hand, and not in this case, because they pulled us into an IRS case, even though I opened up a court of record. When I went down to the federal building, they brought me when I told them I was there for this, you need the tax court, and then they send me down. So they have a special room there. It's called the tax court that's rented out by the IRS or the whatever agency it is that's dealing with all this. But it could be the IRS, it could be the Federal Reserve, or whatever. I don't know. I think it's the IRS. But in any event, this room is a special room that they rent out. Gives the appearance it's a facade of justice, and there is no justice, of course. And they'll hire a judge and give them a stipend and a big bonus if they get a guilty plea, puts me in jail or gets zillions of dollars or whatever the case may be. So the whole thing is a setup. If you did get a jury, it's a stacked jury. But in my case, and again, usually in other cases that I've sued. And it is a constant thing. They'll throw you out for failure to make a claim, improper service, and lie after lie after lie. I mean, if you go in on in a court of record, you open up a court of record, which is a court that proceeds according to the common law, and they will then try to turn. I have a case right now like this. They turned it to what's called an Article 78, puts you under the thumb of the government. So I have to make the argument with that. Then when they make a decision in order, the judge, matter of fact, I'm first doing a writ of error and a motion for correction to reconsider and correct the errors in the decision in order. And the decision in order listed so many things that this was a 78 article court. I forget what they call it, 78. I think it's called a 78 article. So anyway, it's a 78 article process, when in fact it's a court of record. It said also that I didn't properly serve, but I did properly serve. Now these are all the lies written in by letter from the lawyer on the other side for the defendants, and then he put in things, other things. That what made it an Article 78 court was the fact that I put in for what's called an RJI here in New York. Most states don't have it this way, but we have an RJI, which is a request for judicial intervention. I call it a request for judicial interference. I never fill them out. Okay, when you open a court here in New York on the state level, what you get, you have to do two papers. One gives you an index number, which is $210, and then $95 for the RJI. And everybody files both forms, but I never do. I don't want the interference with the judge, so I didn't file it. But the other side filled it out, and they checked the box, making it a 78, claiming that I did that. Okay, so they lie. And then what happens is the judge will then turn around, make his decision, and they will regurgitate everything that guy said as if it, the other side, the defendant's lawyers, as if it is the facts of the case. And they don't even read my papers. At least it appears that way from the standpoint of their decision, because they will list all the papers, but they won't list the important papers that, like my action, that's not considered. For if they did consider it, then they'd see the rebuttal in there, and they'd have to report the rebuttal, and the rebuttal would make negative, negative, I guess is the best word, and just destroy the other side. And mine's under affidavit, they're just nothing. Okay. The point is the whole system is corrupt, and if you're going to go in there, you need to understand the structure of the court, how the court works. You need to understand somewhat on the federal level how that structure works, because you may want to move your case into that. In this case, they're coming in as a defendant, so they're not going to go through all those things, but I went through that to make the point on how corrupt this whole system is. But even with these credit cards, they still have to have those two things. They have to have proof of claim, and they have to have the contract, and they don't have either of them. And I don't think it's the credit card company per se taking them. It is some group that has purchased those things, because the banks don't usually go after that. They sell them off. Okay. So anyway, you got to understand what's going on here. That's why everyone should know the law. We do teach the law. Under Education Starts Here, Blue Book. Anybody that's on a computer can see what we're doing here on the desktop, or you can go later and watch it on video. But anyway, go into Education Starts Here, come down to Court Access in the Common Law Court course, and that's a course that we give. It's really a full-blown course, I think superior to what you learn in bar school. You don't learn all that bar stuff, we learn how to deal with statutes and how to use them against them, that kind of thing, but we don't get too involved in those specifics that they do. But anyway, you can read through here, and we do give the first 90 minutes. This is a 90-hour course done in 3-hour pieces. So you can watch the first video here to get sort of a flavor of the course and see once whether you want to take it or not. But anyway, we only charge $145 for that course. So it's 90 hours and 24 sessions. So it's quite, quite long. But you can take your time, move as fast as you want. But even through that, by reading other people's good cases, and even cases written by the enemy, because you can pull a lot of tidbits out of there too. You can get a sentence here, some information there, and you can use it. The way to learn to write is by reading other people's writings. That's the key. I've written a lot, so you got a lot up here to read that you can read my writings. And I've learned by looking at other people's writings, also, of course, thinking things out and coming up with my own understanding and thinking through my research, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you're going to be destroyed if you're not going in there prepared. You don't have but again, the two things you might want to press upon, since you don't have a choice because you're the defendant, but I'd be doing my homework as quick as possible. But and be prepared to be able to move it into federal court for cause, for denials, denial of due process maybe, depending on how the system works. But the key thing here is where you're going to tie them up is to press very heavily on the fact, where is your proof of claim, and where is the contract that you claim to have with me? Who are you people? And if you discover particularly they're a third party, in other words, they bought the package of all these defaults, and they're a bunch of lawyers or whatever chasing it down. Okay, you don't know who they are. You have no agreement with them. What agreement do we have with you? Now, they're going to play a game in there. They're going to try to make an argument. The judge may lean towards them, but you need to press it real hard towards the judge being very polite and don't push the judge hard. But the point is you really need to make sure that you get onto the record, where is the contract? Where is the proof of your claim? And, someone on the phone telling you owe money is not a proof of anything. They're not a witness about anything. All they're doing is looking at a piece of paper, talking on the phone. They don't know you from Adam. So that's where your argument wants to stick with. Maybe one day if I have time, I'll try to put strategy together for credit cards and these kind of things. I know Gerard had looked into this. I know we got some information. I haven't went deep through it. But and he's not here tonight, I don't think. I don't see him here. So anyway,
she has about 8 more lines. Okay.
All right, make it quick. Go ahead.
Okay.
By the way, the queue is open. Anybody wants to get into the queue, star 601 if you're on a phone, and should be a button there if you're on the Apple browser. But go ahead.
My email just jumped. Okay, there it is. I am also thinking that this week I ought to mail to the plaintiff's lawyer all the letters I sent to the original credit card company. It seems to me that, one, because of the merging, Cap 1 did not receive the letters I mailed to Discover, and two, their lawyer ought to read them. What are your thoughts? And then she has about 4 more lines.
Lawyers are lazy. Okay, they'll play all kinds of games. They are lazy. Most lawyers, not all of them, but most of them are lazy. At least that's what I find. They don't like to do the research. They don't really do research well. When I used to believe in quoting cases, which I eventually came to realize that's just nothing. It's garbage, and it doesn't play a role in our court system at all. That when they would put a case up there, I would discover, first of all, they can come up with 2 or 3 cases. I can get up 5 or 6 cases or 2 or 3 cases that make the opposite position. That's all a bunch of BS. So it doesn't work. But nevertheless, more often than not, cases, especially with the credit card, because I was involved with a credit card case a while back with Gerard, and what they love to do is they'll quote a case, okay, but they don't read the case full enough to discover that really the position of that case was really is for us and not for them. And that tells me how lazy lawyers are, not to realize that, not to read the case all the way through, and they just throw it down there. Also, they make up lies, they make up cases. This case said that or the other thing, you throw it out. They figure you're not going to read it anyway. But again, I don't participate with, they call that common law. It's actually called comity, C-O-M-I-T-Y, which is trial court decisions, which means nothing. Okay, it's appealable, so it's not solid, and only when you get up into the appellate process do you get a little clout to it, and then eventually, of course, up to the Supreme Court. Up in that appellate court decisions, those are the ones that are supposed to be solid. But there's a lot of confusion up there too, because there's a lot of corruption. They're protecting each other's backs. They're maintaining the status quo. And all that other stuff. So it's a mess. All right.
Okay. The last part is, I am also thinking that I should bring to the courtroom all these letters, your books, Mel Stamper's books. What are your thoughts?
They're not going to pay attention to that. And even if they can look as if they're paying attention, it doesn't amount to a hill of beans. They're not going to use it as evidence. You have to understand. Make evidence to begin with, okay? Not to say, for instance, if you have a case, you have an action, okay? And in this case, it's a response to a complaint, okay? Complaint brings you into civil court. You don't want to be in a civil law court. You want to turn that court into a court of record. So you do have to countersue them in order to deal with this problem and open up a court of record which trumps any other court. A court of record, when you open up that court of record, it trumps the civil law court. And therefore they have to respond, or they should be responding according to the common law. Now, first of all, I don't know how many lawyers really understand that. I don't even know how many judges really understand that, at least not on the state level. On the federal level, it's a different story. But on the state level, total ignorance to a lot of this stuff. After all, they all went to the same school, the school of lies, But so they'll make up all this stuff and put it up, and You got to deal with all that garbage, but you have to turn things back. Now, bringing it to a court of record, remember, you're not going to win in that trial court. You're just not going to. It would be very rare that you would win in that trial court. Second of all, it's probably a trial by judge. You want a trial by jury. And then they're going to stack that jury. Then you got to liberate that jury. And you can liberate that jury by understanding what the knowledge of that jury should have, which we've written books on it. We've got the Petit jury book. That would be something to educate the jury. Judge is not going to allow you to give that book in. But if you're really careful and you do your papers correctly, remember, like I said, they don't like to read. So you hide that work inside your papers. Okay, for instance, when you write a case, it's an action. So you're turning a civil court to complaint, which is civil court. You're turning that to an action, which is common law. In that process, you make your point. You make your points. You keep them very clean, very simple. You don't get really too wordy. You try to say as much as you can with the least amount of words. You massage it, massage it, massage it, massage it. You make certain points, and you refer to memorandums. Make points, refer to memorandums. You give the conclusion of the memorandum, maybe, but you really not putting a lot of stuff into your complaint, into your action, and that makes it easy to understand and more comprehensible to whoever's reading it. And then you back your positions by memorandums of law. Okay, and that's where I would hide. In a memorandum of law, I would hide the entire book for the trial jury. It's the Petit jury. It's a handbook. You can get the copy of that handbook. You can download it for free, or you can go to under the Welcome tab. You can come to Books by John Darash, and under these books, you'll find the Petit jury book. Let's see, Common Law Petit Jury Handbook. Okay, so this is what I would educate them with. Now you can download this for free. You should be able to find that under Starter Committee of Safety. You can come down to Handbooks, Tools, and Documents, Videos, and Tools, and you'll find that handbook here in PDF form and in Word, so it'll be easy for you to cut and paste. And so I would get that into the court. You see, when you get a trial, you cannot bring anything up that is not in your paperwork through your original, debate and argument with the other side. And there's a paper trail and argument going back and forth. You've got to realize that. You've got to make your trail. They're making their trail. They're putting their statements on the record. You need to do the same thing. Otherwise, you go into court, you have nothing. Okay? So you have to have all this evidence in there and all this information in your court case. Now, once you get into the court and you bypass, now, like I said, these people, especially lawyers, they don't do their homework. They really don't. They use cookie cutter things, the things from this case, that case, and patch it together and so on and so forth. I mean, to some degree, I do the same thing, but the point is they don't know what they're cut and paste. I'm doing common law. They're doing trial decisions, trial court decisions. But anyway, once you get this in, and they don't try to have that removed, by objecting to that information in the case. Remember, the judge reads nothing. Okay, the judge reads nothing till the end of the day. Okay, the end of the when everything's done, that's when he may read. Okay, so he's not really paying attention. Lawyers are brain dead, so you have that opportunity to sneak this stuff and all kinds of things into your case, and they have no clue. They don't even know that you're going to get a trial by jury. You can pursue it and push it. You'll probably get it because they came after you. It is a right. You can push off the Seventh Amendment, particularly is an unalienable right that can't be protected by the Seventh Amendment. And so once you have all this information, then you're going to shock the court. And again, you have to understand how all this works. So you get into the court, you want to do PowerPoints. You want to master PowerPoints because PowerPoints is the best way to really get your information across to the jury because it's visual. Sometimes it's audio. Definitely, you're going to speak about it. So they get to see the written word, and so they see it, and then they hear it, and that's a double hit into their brain, so to speak. It really makes the impression. Also, it helps to wake them up, because if you do it with a little bit of, a little bit of action inside your PowerPoint, it wakes them up, and it's interesting. So, but the key thing is you're going to liberate that jury on what a petit jury should have, the knowledge that they should have. The court's going to go, the judge is going to go off his rocker, because they don't want this stuff talked about in the court. But it does become a problem for them because they didn't object to it, and it's in the evidence, Now, one of the things there is a big problem with evidence, because if they do see the evidence coming in and they don't like it, they'll just tell you can't have it. I mean, it's that simple. That's how crooked and how evil they are. They have rules of evidence as well as rules for the court. They have rules of evidence. And that also is unlawful. It's unconstitutional. It has nothing to do with the law of the land, so on and so forth. So anyway, if you're going to go into court, you have to understand how these things work, but you should be able to protect yourself, at least understanding things to some degree, maybe not into the depth that I just went through, but enough to be able to get yourself out of things. But you have to understand structure, and you have to understand, about discovery, and you have to understand what a court of record is. Now, I know this all sounds complex. I mean, it was to me, but it really isn't, because it's pretty much logical. It's common sense. But once you see how things work, it is all common sense. The biggest part is learning to write, and again, I keep a file called goodness, what do I call it? Let me see real quick. I don't remember this. I use it all the time. Notes. That's what it is. It's called footnotes. So I keep a file called footnotes. So anytime I put anything in there, any value, and make a reference, and maybe it's a case that I'm using, Supreme Court case, to make a position on law, or whatever the case may be, or anything, okay? I'll have the reference that in a footnote, I would put the information in, and in the footnote put the information on where that information came from, okay? And so that's an important thing to do, because you want to have a lot of solid information on law. And remember, state and U.S. Supreme Court rulings are the law, okay? And not only that, even though some of it is bad, generally speaking, a lot of it is good, especially on the federal level. But even though there are some bad stuff, there's a lot of great stuff, and they have to be obedient to that. They have to bend the knee to the Supreme Court. A lot of times they don't, but then now you have to know how to deal with that, And again, the things that you don't know, if you know the basics, the things you don't know, you can learn and pick up as you go, because you're going to research it as you're doing your case. You have 30, 60, 90 days, depending on what's going on, to build that case. But you're always writing to appeal the case. That's the key. You're writing to appeal. You're not going to win most likely in the lower court. Now, the other thing is this. If it's a trial by jury, the decision is final. That's why you got to really work that jury. And your whole case should be, you should lay out PowerPoints if you can. All right, let's move on.
Okay, she had one more question. You want to hear it?
Yeah, these are good questions, I think.
This is the last one. Please give me your advice on how to start an action lawsuit against the credit card companies for charging insane interest rates on air, and then threaten the ignorant population if it does not comply and give up their hard-earned money. The image of vampires sucking on blood is what comes to my mind. It is repulsing.
Well, again, quite a few things with the credit card. And again, I don't know who's coming out after you, whether it's a third party or the party they actually work things out with you. But again, nobody has a contract, and that doesn't exist. And there is no proof of claim. They don't have that either, which is both affidavit requirements. And if not, then it's hearsay. And you have to make that point in the court for any evidence that comes up that's not proven to be a fact. it's called hearsay. Okay. Anything you bring in, you need to make sure that it's sworn to by affidavit, every piece of evidence. In other words, if someone came up and took pictures, even if you came to take pictures, and you're taking pictures of an accident, which is the case, or whatever the case may be, but you're taking pictures, and then you take those pictures that you want to use for the case, okay, and you insert them into the case. But with those pictures, you have to identify those pictures, maybe in the back or maybe in the bottom, whatever. You'd put down a number or something to refer to, picture number 6 or 16 or 12 or whatever. And but then you will have to do an affidavit swearing concerning the accuracy and the truth of those pictures. On a certain date at a certain time, I came to the place where the accident was, or you were there, whatever, and you took the pictures. Maybe this, and hopefully there's time stamps. Not necessary because you're going to put a time stamp on it, but that's even better if it's got time stamps. And you're taking these pictures that you were the one that took these pictures. They are accurate and misleading in any way. And represents truly the situation, whatever it may be. You'll find the words to say those things. And I ponder on all words when I write a paper. With terrible words, I write a paper to move it along, keep it going. But I always go back and start to massage it, say better words, maybe say more things with less words, maybe use a phrase here, add in this or that. And, I constantly massage. And every piece of paper you write and put into the court, you want to massage at least 10 times, bare minimum. Bare minimum. You put the paper down, you come back the next day, you read it, and say, oh, maybe this is better. Let me say it that way. I found this other piece. You keep massaging that paper. And your whole case is built upon what you write on a paper. And you rebut everything. You can't let nothing go that they say or do, and because anything they say or do, this is all in the background before the case starts. This is paperwork going back and forth. You need to rebut, or be able to rebut. You need to rebut every single statement they make, okay? And so anyway, that's how you do a case. And in order to run a case, again, you have to do your summons and write an action. You got to be careful of your words. You don't want to use pro se. You use improper. Pro se, more identifies with representing yourself in your own person. Improper is a much better statement because they love to play with these words, at least in their minds. They don't bring it up, but it's in their minds what they're thinking and how they make their decisions, particularly on the judge's level. So, again, I know this sounds complex, but like anything else, complexity is built up only by lots of simple things. And once you see the logic that they have laid out, because the court system logic has been the same for 1,000 years, it just goes back. So the logic, discovery, all these things, maybe not 1,000 years, but quite a few, maybe 8, let me think. Well, at least 900 years. Anyway, the system is well structured out. You have to master it. It's very simple, really. And again, the more time you spend with anything, then the easier it is for you to articulate it. It kind of just spills out of your mouth. So writing is important when you're studying law. Correctly, that is anyway. Writing is important because you write the papers. And you practice, but anyway, it's not going to be that simple. There is a guy. When did they say they're going to court? October? I think they said October. Anyway, I'll talk with Gerard.
October 2nd.
I'll talk with Gerard and try to get him to make sure he's here at next Monday's meeting, and maybe he could talk more, because he knows more about this than I do. There is a guy that wrote out some information, laid out a plan that's like with these cards, and it goes through simple processes. And it's more, anyway, he can give you, I look at this from a different perspective. I look from the trial level. He's looking for the argument level in the summary judgment type things. So it may be helpful and might be the thing to help win the case. But the way you're going in right now, it's only words that's going to fly in and out of the ears of people. They're not going to pay no attention to it, and they're going to rule for the status quo. you have to make a case that makes this judge worried about making his decision for the status quo. Okay, is there anything else? Is that it, Jan? Is there anything else?
Yeah, that's all, John. That's all I have.
All right, we did spend quite a bit of time on that. We do have a few people in the queue. Anybody else wants to get into the queue? It's a *6 and a 1. We got 3 people at the moment. I did have something I want to talk to. I'm going to try to do this real quick, but it is an important case, even though I'm moving through quickly on this. It's a case that we had done back, I'm thinking 2016 maybe. I don't know. We'll see when I look at some of these papers. And it's about the assassination of Lavoy Finnegan. Okay, we did some research. We piled information. We did, through the Unified United States Common Law Grand Jury, we did an indictment. We indicted, 30 people or so. Big time people were in there. Hillary Clinton was in there. She was one of the main figures in this whole process out there. It was all about uranium, robbing uranium. And in order to do that, they needed to deal with the ranchers that have had the land for, scores and scores of years, handed down through their families and so on and so forth, which is state land, but they're given rights. And the purpose of this land is for the people, not for the government. It's for the people. And ranchers would do this. They'd raise cattle or whatever it is that they're doing. They get water rights and different things. Well, they had to get rid of these people because they were a problem because there was a lot of uranium out there. And they started terrorizing the ranchers, and this went through with the Bundys and the Hammonds. And again, I don't know how many people with us today that remember this or were conscious of the problem. But real quickly, let me just put it this way. This is something that recently came out. FBI Director Patel celebrates the agents who assassinated cattle rancher and foster parent Lavoy Finnegan. Okay, this guy was gunned down in cold blood. We have the pictures. We have the videos. As a matter of fact, I posted up recently the videos. Let me see if I can get. I'm not going to play this video, but I'm just going to give a little information in this video that you can go and everybody. Let me get to the welcome page. You can get to this page here and watch the video yourself. Come down to Rumble, okay? And again, I'm going to move Rumble up to the top a little later this week. But okay, here's our Rumble. Hopefully it'll open up. I don't know if it's opened up. I'll leave it be. Maybe it'll open up. But anyway, oh, here it is. I had it opened up already. Okay, so I put this picture up here. This is Lavoy Finnegan assassination forensic proof. This was done by an expert in the field of forensic proof, particularly with what did they call it? The dead man's. Do you remember what it was called?
Dead man roadblock?
Yes, something like that. It is an actual thing that they use in order to really cut people off. And what they did with him is he was riding down the road, heading with other people in a car, heading to go see the sheriff.
And that roadblock, for them to use it, was illegal.
Exactly. And what they did to do it was illegal. So he's riding down the road, okay, and the feds are on the one side of the road, and he's slowing down to talk to them. Next thing you know, they're firing bullets at him. So he hits the gas to take off to get out of the range of fire, okay, and he's running down this road 80, 90 miles an hour, and they got these vehicles chasing him, forcing that speed. And he, I guess he didn't realize that the curb was up ahead. And as soon as he's coming around the curb, that was it. And then he went off the road onto the left. He came out of the car. Well, let's see how much of this we can get on this. Let me just click on this and see if we can get just the beginning, because I think they do sort of in the beginning of this video, is they do the shooting and then they go back and walk through the forensics of it. Come on. This is one of the problems with Rumble. There is I find a lot of problems with them. I'm trying to get this thing going, and it doesn't want to cooperate often. So, Okay, I'm going to let it go. But anyway, you can go up. We just put this up last week. Okay. So anyway, going back over here to what we really want to focus in on, we did on one of our federal court cases. We did the Finnegan murder indictment. Okay, and we have all of the proof and everything. Now let's see. We may have the video without going there. Preserve assassination report. I don't think that was it, but let's see. No. Well, here's assassination report we have, which breaks down that video. Okay, and it is 386 pages on this. Okay, just the assassination report with videos. Okay, so we did a lot of work on this. Then we have the Hammond investigation, the Bundy Ranch investigation. We have the Bundy trial transcripts, but that's like about 4,000 pages. We're not going to use that. But collectively, we got like 1,000 pages of evidence, rock solid evidence, interviews. The women that were in the car told the story, what was going on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And this is a good video here. It really introduces you to LaVoy Finnegan. And we have a lot of videos like that. But anyway, people can go out here and look at this evidence if they want on their own. This is done by the Unified United States Common Law Grand Jury, an indictment. The indictment is a 24-page indictment with, like I said, about 1,000 pages of evidence. And again, you can find this under federal cases on the blue bar. Come down and click on the Finnegan murder. I should put Finnegan assassination indictment. But in any event, and so we have all this evidence, okay? Now, going back to FBI Director Patel, I believe he's a real good guy. I believe he knows a lot of what's going on, but he doesn't know everything. One of the problems with the administration is they don't have enough of a connection, in my opinion, to people like us that really have been involved with this stuff for a long time, following through with this stuff, especially in this case through the Unified United States Common Law Grand Jury. So they got this police report. They got these police were found not guilty by jury trial. So they got the trial. They got all this stuff, okay? But it's all redacted, controlled. Patel has no clue that these people are evil and they were out to assassinate LaVoy Finnegan. And so what we'd like to do is I'd like to package this whole thing up, about 1,000 pages roughly, plus video, probably put them on DVDs. We'll get them back up online too, because a lot of them are shut down, but we'll get them back up. Maybe put them on Rumble. And they can go up there to watch them, or they can watch it off the DVDs that we'll put into the package. And we want to do it by presentment of this case, and probably a couple of pages of a few things we need to say concerning this case, the problems, that they don't understand. Well, look, they should understand how evil and corrupt and controlled the courts are. We want to send this presentment to President Trump. The big focus is Pam Bondi, because she's the Attorney General, and also Patel. All three of them presentments to all three at the same time with all this information. And really push hard to get the reconsideration. These people need the death penalty, in my opinion. The justice must prevail. But it's not going to happen unless we, the people, do something. I picked up on this on the, what's the name of the program you guys do, Terry?
It's the Gerard Nolly Show on Patriot Soapbox.
Okay, so I picked up on this in Patriot Soapbox when I was hearing about this, and I immediately went to start looking at the evidence we had. We had a tremendous amount of evidence. So I did make an announcement on that program, and I'm making that announcement here. People had a hard time giving money. I understand at times are hard. It's hard for me too, but I do what I got to do wherever I can do it. But in order for us to do it, we need a couple of $1,000. We have a lot of paper to get, we have toner to get, we have mailings and servings. So, if we can get enough money, I'll spend the time this week to put this together and get it out. And I think this is a good case to get in because we've been communicating with Trump and his administration, which includes Patel and, of course, Pam Bundy. So we've been communicating with them. We send them the book, Government by Consent. We've sent them two or three presentments already. We've copied them on indictments in the federal court. We've copied them on presentments to the United States Supreme Court. So they're aware of us, and someone's got to be looking at our stuff. This could be the case that'll tip us over a little bit, maybe to get more of a connection, an actual connection with the administration to understand what they're doing and hopefully be able to educate them in the areas that they're deficient in, because they clearly are deficient in who we are as a people. They clearly are deficient in the understanding of what a republic is and how our founding fathers put this nation together and who we are as a people. They are deficient in that. Even though these are knowledgeable people, remember they've all been, formally educated. But they have broken away from a lot of the BS, I'm sure. One of the big problems is trying to get them to understand that bar attorneys, according to the original 13th Amendment, they're not permitted to hold an office of trust. But this could be the case to help really leverage us into a better connection, maybe a two-way connection, which would really be nice, but a connection to be able to educate, because that's what these people need. Educating in areas that they're not educated in, that they, again, it's not what you don't know that's going to get you. It's what you think you know and ain't so. That's what's going to get you. And that's from Mark Twain, I believe it was. Anyway, anybody who can give us donations in order to get this case through, we'll do it. I'm not going to beg for money constantly. This is a one-time thing. Get enough money in the next week or so, we'll do it. If not, well, we'll just move on. Okay, with that, I guess we'll go to Q&A. Let's take our first caller here. Let me go find it. Okay, it's a wireless caller, area code 608. Give us your first name and your state. You got the mic.
Yes, John. I was just kind of curious about the case that's going on in Washington, D.C. right now at the Supreme Court. What's the status on that?
Which case? Which case are you talking about? The case that we've done, some other case? What case are you talking about?
The case with the foreclosures and everything else that's in front of the D.C. Supreme Court, and you notified all 33 people.
Oh, yeah. 30 well, yeah. Well, we've already served that on to the federal courts. We have we put them up in the Northern District here in New York as a place to gather all of our evidence and information, also on the website, and also to the Attorney General's. We were doing sessions when he was around. We were copying Barr when he was around, but also the federal court. We got on record. And that's not moving anywhere. We're not expecting it to go anywhere until after, the court system is clean. I know Trump is working on the federal level. It's up to we, the people. Hopefully everybody's listening to this. It's up to we, the people, to clean up the state level. State level is not going to clean itself up, and Trump can't involve himself on the federal level. If he can pull conspiracy and connect a lot of these judges on the state level, well, I'm sure he'll do that, and we'll get rid of a lot of bad players. But nevertheless, to get rid of the Rules Enabling Act, we've done that also. We sent that to the United States Supreme Court. We copied, we copied in this case now Attorney General Bundy. We copy her at everything now because she's the Attorney General. We also posted up online, and we posted into the courts. And I don't expect any of that to go until the federal courts are clean. Once the federal courts are clean, then we have a place where we can go and get some protection, because it's up to them to champion the Constitution. So if we bring a case into the federal court for cause, meaning a constitutional cause, usually from the people, it's usually maybe due process or some violation of our unalienable rights. And so we can then have the protection of the court that would require the state courts to be obedient. But in order for this to move through the whole United States, we're going to need people who are educated in what I'm talking about, and I've been talking about now for the past hour, which is understanding the law, understanding court process, understanding, discovery and how the different things and work through the courts, understanding the federal courts. Anybody that's studying that and really working heavily on that, we'll work with them to go through each state court and work that through. So hopefully, as soon as we get the federal courts back, we can start pushing in on, and because we made it federal, we can push the federal level. We'll see where it goes. But it's going to be up to the individuals. I'm getting a lot of feedback. Anyway, we'll get what's your first name, by the way, in your state?
Randy.
And what's your state? What state you're from?
I'm Madison.
Yeah, what state though?
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. Okay, so Randy from Wisconsin. Okay. Anyway, hopefully, maybe next year, maybe he'll have the federal courts cleaned out, and we'll be working on the state courts. But I think we could do something on the federal courts to kind of open things back up. But it is going to be up to the people. We have hundreds of cases in on this stuff that we've applied into the system. It's going to be up to them to do the defense. So they're really going to have to really be buckling down on at least how this process works. And again, we can give a lot of advice on that. We could do workshops at the time to help people write the papers and do what they need to do. But we need people who understand what we're doing, and we will help them writing the papers in order to deal with these foreclosures. Most of what we went in for was foreclosures and habeas corpuses. We did pick up on a few other cases, but really it was mostly foreclosures, whether it's tax foreclosure or even if it was, of course, a mortgage foreclosure. So we'll see what happens maybe next year, which is coming up very close. We just moved into September. But let's see what happens in the courts.
I just thought that they would make a decision. The Supreme Court would make a decision, no?
Oh, no. They're not making any decisions. They ignore it. They're not doing anything, nor do they care about doing anything. And unless we push it, they're not going to do anything. But we set the record is the key. And the record we set was also gave us the ability to write an indictment on the federal judiciary. And we sent a copy of that indictment by the Unified United States Common Law Grand Jury against that federal judiciary. We sent it to Trump. We sent it to Bondi. And we sent it to actually Trump's entire administration and his entire cabinet. And, of course, we served it on the United States Supreme Court. It's not going to go anywhere unless we push it. They'll ignore it. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to talk about it. So until the courts are cleaned up, we're not going to be able to do anything on it. But I do believe the courts will be cleaned up. Then we got work to do.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Randy. Okay, we'll take our next caller. It's John. Give us your state. John from?
Hi, I am Hawaii.
John from Hawaii. Well, I haven't heard anyone from Hawaii in a while. I know you're in a big time change difference, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I have actually a case that the jurisdiction is out of New York. It all stems from a family court matter. Now, I already
America. Go ahead.
I already went back into the system with family court, and they just kicked me out, but basically, which I was expecting. At the time when I had filed, I already put something in at the state level in the form of a declaratory judgment because I just knew it wasn't going to go anywhere. But basically, at this point, I already have something that is in the federal level at the Eastern District of New York in Brooklyn. Now, the judge on the case, Nina Morrison, she's just given me BS at this point. You know, she's claiming that jurisdiction isn't even right when I have already submitted the proof that it is, because I filed within Hawaii. They kicked it back. They said you're not in the right jurisdiction. You have to go to New York. And you know, it's just the evidence that I have pertaining to the original case is just overwhelming. You know, it can't be ignored. It's riddled with ADA violations, double dipping, intrinsic fraud. I mean, you name it, it's there. The original order itself that came out of family court, the magistrate that judged on the case, she shouldn't even have been judging cases at that point. She was under investigation.
This is a family court, right?
Yes, originally. But like I said,
hold on. But is it something to do between two people, husband and wife, or is it to do with children? Or
no, at this point, it's the court itself. The court itself has done the injustice.
That particular court doesn't even open up without the start of injustice and the end of the day with injustice every day. They've been doing it for a long time. That particular court, which is in every county, is the most evil court in America.
Oh, you're preaching to the choir. Yeah, but you know, she was under investigation at the time. She was the mistress to the disgraced New York State Senator Sheldon Silver, who I'm sure you're well aware died in jail from prison. You know, because they put him in prison because of this. She dodged the bullet. They like I said, they allowed her to continue to rule on cases. She ruled on mine. Basically, you know, this woman has like destroyed my life. Basically, I mean, I have no choice now to fight these people. So, you know, how can I navigate this at this point? I still, like I said, I'm at the state level as well.
Well, that's a huge question you're asking. But let me ask you, what connection do you have to the case? I mean, how are you involved in this case?
I'm the person that is receiving the injury because at that time I had already been on disability from a car accident that I shouldn't have.
You've been injured because you were in the family court as a child and have been injured by that, or you have children? How is it that you're in court? I don't know.
Itself, like this woman ruled as if I was. I mean, even in the paperwork, she said I was willfully not paying child support, which is...
So this is a child support thing?
Yes, correct. The financial. I mean, I was also dealing with visitation, which is a separate issue. I mean, it comes down to basically the service. The service that it was not done proper, you know, and I didn't know that at the time because.
You know how many people are going through this?
I know. I know.
In every there's a family court in every county, and they're booked every day.
This is an epidemic at this point. What's happening?
Look, at the best I can tell you is we have our focus on that court. We want to shut it down because it's unlawful. It's an unconstitutional court. It violates everything. For instance, that's a court of record, so it's claimed to be a court of record in the New York State Constitution. Okay, and I'm sure it's probably a court of record in every state. But anyway, I know in New York it lists out courts of record, and one of the courts that they listed out as a court of record is the family court. Now, here is the problem. Their education is the problem. As a matter of fact, I got a paper from a lawyer friend of mine probably about 4 pages, and it was an article concerning the court of record, and he said, how would you defend against this? And I responded to that with 1 page, maybe even less than that. Well, no, actually, I responded, I believe, with this memorandum I got open in my thing, so how many pages is this? So it was a lot longer than 1 page. Let's see, it's 7 pages, okay? But what a court of record is. Now, look at these people, like I said, when they come out of school, they don't seem to really read. They read what they have to read, but they really don't read. And it's pretty boring anyway to read trial court cases. I mean, it would bore me to tears. I don't know how long I'd be able to keep my sanity. But in any event, they're not really bright people, in my opinion, from the experience I've had with lawyers. They have no clue on what a court of record is. They literally think that a court of record is a court that keeps a record, which is every court, okay? But it's very simple to go into Black's Law or Bovier's dictionary, any of these law dictionaries, and you will find the definition of a court of record is a court that proceeds according to the common law, okay? And so that's a court of record. They're supposed to proceed with the common law. In a common law case, in a court of record, there are no summary judgments, okay? It's the people that decide, not some clown on ruling on these cases and the lawyers and all these. No, it's the people, and that brings you to a jury trial. Now, family courts really should be run by clinicians, a group of individuals, clinicians. You should keep lawyers out of them altogether. This is problems that have to be dealt maybe with psychologists, clinicians, and people who can deal with the family, try to navigate through the problems, try to find solutions, and then to use the leverage of the court for enforcement. But eventually, at some point, if they can't really bring the person that is causing the injury to the family or not obeying whatever it is, okay, Ken, I don't know what cases these may be, but whatever it is, okay, at some point in time it could be moved into the court where a jury would deal. Now, you could deal with a court case, you could deal with these family issues and send specific issues into the court for decisions by the people, which would be a jury. And you'd have these jury trials, maybe 3 or 4 issues that will be collected together to bring into the court and decided on by the people, and then you have a lawful decision. But generally speaking, the whole purpose of the family court is to divide the family, to destroy the family, to destroy the children, to upset everyone. There's no compassion. They will break up families. If you got 3 or 4 kids, they won't put them in the same home. They'll divide them up. All kinds of injuries and problems that are so traumatic that people take this through their whole life. And, so fixing this problem, really, the family court system, and it should be something totally redesigned. And we are going to push for that as time goes on.
I'll help for sure, because I mean, you got to understand what's happening now. The damage that they've caused.
I know the damage, absolutely. Let me tell you, they are so evil. I have a friend of mine, and he's been in family court for a while. The wife brought it in. He couldn't convince her to try to deal with it on their own, and she's there and there. And so, he's supposed to give so much money. He gives more money than what they want anyway. He's a business guy. He's taking care of his family, but he refuses to go through their system. So instead of, what they want is they want him to pay them the money and them to pay her the money. And
because they get the kickback through Title 4D. It's just a Ponzi scheme.
There's a lot of things involved with that. But the thing is, they don't want him to pay her directly. He's got receipts.
Because then they don't get that federally backed money. That's why.
I'll get to that point in a minute. So anyway, he'll tell them, well, look, I've given her the money, here's the receipts, or the canceled checks, whatever. Go ask her, she'll tell you. But they don't care. Even with that being said, they don't care what he's already given. They want the whole enchilada still, as if he never paid it, and they wanted to go through his system, their system. And yes, because they get more funding depending on how much money goes through that system. So you're absolutely right. You call it a kickback. And let me tell you, if you don't think that this money isn't going into the pockets of judges and different people, then you're really naive, because that's how bad it is. Our
But
court system is a third world court system.
this is where it's so fucked up, though. So the dependents under, because on my disability, the dependents were getting their own benefit. None of that has been attributed to anything. They're treating it like it's free money. So they've garnished me, which is not allowable. That's an ADA violation right there. The benefit should have been the only thing that would have been paid out. I would have never gotten garnished in the first place. So that's a conflict right there. And you can't just take money. You just can't take money and it doesn't get counted towards the child support. So I've already paid through the dependents getting their own. They've gotten paid out over $100,000. They've garnished me over $100,000, and I still owe $155,000 in arrears. Make sense? So I mean, it's double dipping right off the bat.
Yeah, again, especially with people that have the ability to pay that kind of money, that's the ones that's going to be the damage most, because they know that they're going to be able to just dig this gold mine forever. They're evil. They're evil. And you know what? If there's any way, what is it now? Child support, is this with your wife or just with a girlfriend you had and you never?
This ex-wife, correct.
Is there any way to talk with her?
No, she's completely off the reservation. She has been
That's a major problem when two people can't even talk anymore.
And this woman makes millions of dollars. Millions.
Let me make some points here. You know, when two people can't talk no more, there's got to be a way to wake them up, to tell them, look, do you want lawyers to have all the money, or do you want the money? You know, let's work. Look, if you go into family court, there's one thing that they do have that works well, okay? You can go get their paperwork, and they lay out a payment scheme according to your income, okay? Now, they may exaggerate that or something of that nature. That could be a problem that has to be adjusted, fixed, and it's a problem. But nevertheless, okay, if you were to take that plan, okay, which you can go to get the whole plan, you go up and ask for all the paperwork for filing, let's say, for divorce, okay? You can get the paperwork from there, and then they have child support, and there is a plan. It's a logical, mathematical equation plan to break things down. Now, it is tough in this day of age, especially for people in a much lower income than that you're talking about, because you know you can't provide for two different households. Well, it's tough enough to provide for one household on the salaries that are available to people. You know, $20-30 an hour is just not enough to live life these days. It is really rough. The inflation is so severe. The dollar's worth literally 3/4 of a penny. I wrote a paper on that. You can download and read that also on our page there with the files and videos and different things. But it's so tough, okay? But in any event, the plan that they have laid out, is a very well planned, and I would suggest that anyone that's entering into the courts, even if you have to get a counselor to try to get the two of you together to talk and work out these problems, well, everyone would fare out a lot better by leaving the state out of this business and really getting down to, well, here's a plan that the state would be pushing anyway, but they're going to take a lot more money and you're not going to get what you think you're going to get because of that, because they take so much more money from us. I won't be able to do anything. So let's go through this plan. Let's try to negotiate something, and let's just work it out and cut them out of the business altogether. So
that's not going to happen. Not with the female.
Sounds like you can't get. So that's a problem. Winning in court with these people at this moment in time, you're not going to do it. You're not going to get a lawyer that's going to be able to do it. You don't have the knowledge to do it, and even with the knowledge to do it, they're evil. You see, first order of business is I'd shut them down and move them into the state court, because this is a court of record, and a court of record trumps any other court, and we need to get out of here to deal with this over there. Let the people decide. But in order to do that, again, you want to go back. You want to get the breakdown on how they figure out, child support, and then you could take that, work through that whole system, get all that stuff together, break it down to what it should be, what's reasonable, and then you bring it into that court. You bring it to a jury, and the jury decides. Now you have the people. You have 12 people that really are going to look at this, and you want to make sure that they understand, that they got the power and the authority to do certain things. Particularly, in this court, they can nullify any kind of law they try to apply upon you. For there is no law in common law. Common sense is the law with an eye on justice. That's what common law is. It's common sense with an eye on justice and restitution. So you could. This is extremely important. What I'm telling you, I'm giving you a solution. Okay. But in order to do the solution, you have to understand the basics, okay? You can understand the basics in a 90-hour course that we gave, but you have to understand the basics. So once you understand the basics, you go, and like I said, you go down low, you go to the family court and ask for the paperwork on child support, okay? You definitely can find in the package that.
I have all that already. I mean, I've done my due diligence.
You work through that yourself without them, and you lay out all the truth on what's going on there. Then move that court case into the state court for a court of record. You want a jury trial, and let the jury decide. Now that's one way
I have it at that point. My question is, how do I get on the federal level at this point? Because, like I said, I have it.
Federal level is
in the state side of it. They're recusing themselves. They don't want to deal with me. It's in the same county at the state level, but like I said. Judge already recused himself. They're dick dancing with me at this point. This is why.
When you go into a court, and again, you went into a court too early without understanding strategies to begin with. You have to have strategies. When you go into a court in pro per, okay, which means in your own person,
yeah, I know.
File a case. You need to remain and be a mystery to these people. Because you're going to lay, when you know what you're doing and you lay these things out and you bring these different, you write your papers, you become a mystery to because you're going to bring up things that they don't even know anything about, number one. And the judge might look into some of these things, or might be, on a federal level, they'll be aware of all these things. But at least on the state level, they might look into some of these things and discover, and you're going to be something that they are a little leery about, maybe a little fearful about you, because your paper's coming in pretty good, you're pretty powerful, you laid it out, and in theory, well, in fact, actually, you won the case on paper, you should be able to file for a summary judgment, okay? And summary judgments are not permitted in a court of record, with the exception of if you lay out the case so clear on the paper, okay, just so clear that there's no question of the solution to this case, then they can end it with a summary judgment. But and they don't know they're not supposed to anyway. Get that through anyway.
All right, so summary judgment then, right?
Right, but it's not just that simple. Okay, you ask about a federal court. Why would you want to go to a federal court? What is the cause to bring it into a federal court? Do you think?
Because of the fact that the family court doesn't want to deal with me, like they.
That's not courts. No. Look, the fact that the family court doesn't want to deal with you, you'd have to reword this in a denial of due process and lay out the facts that they denied due process. Okay, because in order to get into a federal court, you can only move into federal court for cause, C-A-U-S-E, for cause. Mm-hmm. And what is the cause? It's a constitutional violation. And in the sense of the people, if they violate any of your unalienable rights, that is for cause. So you have to point to the unalienable right. Maybe it's the Seventh Amendment, which is they're denying you the due process to get into a court.
No, it's actually 42 U.S.C. 407A. That's what they violated.
Forget all that. We're not interested in that. Those are codes, and we apply the codes against them, and maybe you can use that sort of in the back. But I like to stick with pure law, and the pure law is common law, and the common law starts with we the people ordained and established the Constitution for them, which includes the Bill of Rights and the foundation of our common law, which is the first founding document, the Declaration of Independence. Those are the three papers, and you find the violations in there, and that's what you lay out to get into a federal court. And the USC stuff, okay, yeah, it's got some power and authority. I've used some of the codes and everything to go after these judges or other individuals that stepped outside of their authority, and you can go after them in a civil court, and you can even pursue them criminally. They don't really allow that to go through. I guess occasionally someone might get it through. Years ago they did, but I don't know if anybody gets that kind of stuff through today. So the point I'm trying to say is that you have to understand, and you have to have a strategy, and you have to understand their strategy. And that comes with experience and reading. That's the only place you're going to get it. And you can get experience through reading. You know, I heard Musk talk one time, and he said he really never went to college. He said he signed into college, got the textbooks, and only showed up for tests. And he went far advanced. In other words, he'd read his textbooks and then read books concerning what's in the textbooks, and he aced through this whole system. And that's how he got his education. He's really actually self-educated. Okay? And everyone and anyone can do this. Education is only a matter of spending a lot of time with a particular material, whatever it may be, if it's the law or whatever it is, you know. And you could be excellent at it if you're determined. The more time you spend, the better it is. You need to spend time with the law. I strongly suggest to go out and get a law course somewhere. You can get ours for $125 and for 90 hours, and you can take it as fast as you want, as slow as you want, whenever you want. It'll always be there to be taken and used to go back to review once you sign in. So, but also there's a court of record memorandum. You'll find these memorandums. This was an updated one. I probably added a paragraph or two maybe in this. But you can get these records up on our website. You can get a lot of our memorandums up on the website under law. Let's see. Welcome. Education starts here. Come down to law. And right here is memorandums of law. I'm sure one of the memorandums in here would be court of record. Okay, let's see. Family. Here's a family court. This will educate you quite a bit. Memorandum of law concerning the family court. Okay, so that's a good memorandum, which will give you knowledge. Okay, rules of common law, right to practice law. Let's see, non-judicial foreclosures, habeas corpus. No, that's not what we're looking for. I don't know why I don't have one in here in the court of record. Let's see, maybe down here. We definitely have a copy of the court of record memorandum in our education, court access in the common law. Let's see. Let's see, court of record. I went off. Let's see. All right, in here you'll find memorandums on a court of record, because we have got a bunch of memorandums. The other place you'll find memorandums that'll be helpful. Okay, and here's two books if you're going to go into court you really should have. Okay, come under welcome and come down to books by John Darash. Now there is the book Court Access in the Common Law. The course is much more deeper, in-depth, and more involved and interactive. But you're going to learn a lot in this court access. So definitely, this is something you should get right away. Memorandum of Common Law is another one. We have a court of record in here, memorandums on a court of record. Understanding the federal courts. So these three books right here, Court Access in the Common Law, Memorandums of Law, Understanding the Federal Courts, is a must for anybody who is trying to do things in the court and learn things. Now, there is one other book that I wrote, and these are handbooks, so they're very cheap. I don't think any of them's over $10, maybe $6, $8, whatever, something like that. But this one here, I'm not sure the price on this, like Common Law Court Handbook. This is a must, okay? Those other books are important because you read through them. There's forms in there. There's memorandums. It lays out the structure, how to file a court case. You know, a lot of stuff in there, okay? But on top of that stuff, okay, one of the things is this Common Law Court Handbook. Now, let me just click on that to open this up. Okay, now this book is really packed with a lot of stuff, okay? And you can get stuff off the fly in the court, all right? And that's what I wrote this. I wrote this book for myself, you know? And after I wrote the book, I said, hey, I should publish this book. I'm sure a lot of people can use it. It's 311 pages, and it's in a handbook type, so it's a little meaty, but nevertheless, what does it go for? This is the most expensive handbook. It's $11, $10.99. Okay. This purpose of this handbook is to assist people in the courtroom by arming them with the information needed off the fly. This handbook puts on your fingertips the rules of common law, Supreme Court rulings, U.S. codes, particular ones focus against them, founding documents and founding fathers' quotes to assist you in defending your jurisdiction and right of due process. Okay, and it goes on. You can read this on your own, and you can take a look inside the book, you know, and see, I know you can go through some of the pages and see some of the things in here. Read sample. Let me click on that. Okay. Okay, this gives you, here's a sort of a breakdown of the contents, okay, and the preface. So you can read through this and see if you want to get it. But these are the things that I would suggest. Anybody that's in court, going into court, wants to learn how to defend themselves, then these are the books you want to get. And now, this book is not available in PDF download, but all these other handbooks are available in PDF download. You can find under Starter Committee of Safety Handbooks, Videos, and Tools. And if I'm talking too fast, you can just come back and listen to the video. But again, this is a must-have. If you don't know nothing about law and you really want to learn and be able to write the papers and figure out the forms and file your papers, you need court access in the common law, memorandums of law, understanding the federal courts, and then that handbook. So you got a lot of work, though.
I know. I've been working it. So.
All right, we're going to move on because we've got two other people. We can talk some more next week if you want. Terry, I see your hand is up. If you want to talk, you just pipe in. Okay, we're going to take our next call, John, and we can talk again.
I had it up earlier. Sorry.
Okay. We could talk next week, but you need to get some education going. You know, if you don't get it from us, you got to get it.
I have been. I mean, I'm
okay,
like I said, I have the cases.
Information that I can tell. What kind of education books do you have?
Well, I have the Black Floor Dictionary, and I'm using all the websites like Cornell, Westlaw, and
Westlaw. That's garbage.
You know, I shepherdize everything that I put into my paperwork. I'm not just pulling shit and just putting it. I actually cross-reference and shepherdize what I need for my specifics.
Westlaw charges you money, number one. They focus a lot.
I know that, but I have
Okay, but they focus in on a lot of trial court decisions to begin with, so they really put that, which is garbage. It means nothing. They do give you some stuff, of course, on the Supreme Court decisions, and that's where you want to focus your time. There is really a handful of cases, and again, I have all my footnotes that you can get in the course if you want the footnotes, hundreds of footnotes. And that's extremely important. And so in any event, to some degree, that handbook is a lot of footnotes, particularly because it gives you different cases you can quote and what the key decision on that case, and which are United States Supreme Court cases or state Supreme Court cases. which means that's the law. And a lot of good rulings have been made. So anyway, we're going to move on, John. We'll talk more next week. Okay. But educate yourself if you want to win, because you're not prepared. They're going to beat you up bad. Okay, we're going to the next caller. Anonymous, what's your first name and your state?
Yes, good evening. This is Elizabeth from Arizona.
Elizabeth from Arizona.
Yeah, hello, good evening. So I'm warming up to this, and I need to, I have to, I don't have a choice. But I've learned a little bit over the last, 7 or 8 years. I had no idea that I'd be facing this, but I'm just listening to these people tonight, and they're suffering, and this is not even a lawful system.
No.
That you, and so my question then is, it's Hegelian, because they contact you or someone, and they put out all this garbage that they did, and they didn't do it, and they drag them into court, and they take their money. And they're not only taking money out of their pocket, they're taking their Sesta KV Trust money, they're taking their QSIP money, they're just doing everything, and it's a sinking ship, and it's like they're robbing everyone on the way down.
It's called organized crime. Go ahead.
Yes, and so it would seem to me in my ignorance right now that a really strong affidavit that cites the rights in the Constitution, and that they have no grounds to any of this, and just not even participate in this evil. It gives them more, because the woman or whoever was on the question earlier, the questions, I thought it was a woman, but you were reading from her questions, and every time we give them something, they're going to take it and they're going to twist it, and then it makes it deeper. And it's better to just not acknowledge them. They're violating the Constitution, and we supposedly have our Constitution now.
It's just like Satan, who quotes scriptures and twists them. That's what they do.
Yeah.
They'll quote their law, which is no law at all to begin with, and then they'll twist it either way. I've been in cases where they apply the law correctly, and then they twist the law in another case in the same kind of whatever benefits them to win the case. It is all about money. It is organized crime at the highest level. Okay. No getting away from it.
But I mean, wouldn't it be? I'm sorry, dear. Go ahead.
Every single person, every child, and this is up to we the people to do and make this happen, and we could do this through committees of safety, but every child in America should be taught who we are as a people. They should be taught the true law of the land. What is the law of the land? What's the difference between law and equity? They should be taught how to walk into a court and handle their own legal business, okay? This could all be done in school. We sent our children to school for 12 years. And, if you go back 100 years, children went to school for only 8 years. And even that wasn't full time, because, they didn't necessarily go for 6, 7, 8 hours a day. Okay, but nevertheless, their education, and we can prove that because we have tests from that, which we have up on our website, their education ends up on a college level. We send our children to school for 12 years, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, okay? And by the time they come out, they should be able to take care of their legal business. They should know who we are as a people. They should understand the common law. They should understand equity. They should know the Constitution. They should know that they need to give back into community because they've got liberty. We've got the Bill of Rights. We have unalienable rights. And since we have those things, there's a duty to protect those things and to hand it to our children. And we can do that if people get involved. That means to support, for instance, National Liberty Alliance and the work we're doing here, or some other place that you support. Right. And it also, the most important part of this whole thing is education. We provide complete education, everything you need. We've got all of the education up here. How to get into the courts, how to deal with the courts, how to write papers, court access in the common law. Or we have also courses. We have a foundation study. We have a constitutional course, 101. We have civics course. We have a government by consent course. We have a militia course. Okay, we have a jury administrative accredited course. All of these courses are free, with the exception of a couple of them. We ask that you be a supporting member of $5 a month or more. And then, of course, the law course is $125. But, you know, you're not going to get an education like this anywhere else. If anybody knows of an education equal to or better than ours, I'd like to know about it. Maybe bring it up next Monday or whenever you can, because I want to know about it. But I don't know.
I was just going to say, though, that, you know, every time now, I mean, some of us are starting to learn this and wake up, and it's really hard. It's traumatizing. Yes. On one hand, and yet when we walk into that court, we're giving it credence.
Right.
And so, you know.
No, not necessarily. I don't do that. I don't give them any credence at all. I lay it out right away. Read the court cases that I've written. We lay out the law, exactly what it is, who we are, and what we're coming under.
Right.
The common law.
But that's a blessing you have. And I know you're trying to give it back and everything. It's just that it's too much, because it's lies. And the lie is never enough. It's going to be another lie. And then pretty soon these people are going to curl up into a ball. And they're not going to have anything. And that's what they want, because they can continue to take money that, you know, until this system is totally taken down, we're feeding this thing still. And I mean, it's horrible. I mean,
well, on its way to correction. We'll see where it goes. It'll be corrected enough to be able to be finished by the people. But the people have to step up and do something, and get off their stupid phones. And they call them smartphones. They're stupid phones because it makes you dumb. You're talking tweets, you know. Read a book instead of reading a phone. You know?
But John, you know, you were saying a while ago, and I'm not criticizing it because I understand what you're saying, because this is what they require. They require us to massage them. They want us to manipulate them, and that's dishonest. It gives us a false sense of truth, because it's actually, when I let somebody manipulate me, I'm really manipulating them, because I'm in control, and they have nothing.
The truth will always end up on top, whether they agree with it or not, whether they rule correctly or not. It'll always end up on top. But the key thing is this: when you're in a court that refuses to give you a jury, you will eventually get that up into the appellate court, because that's what you should be writing your papers for, knowing that you're not going to win in that court, that you're going to need to go to the appellate court and push that appellate court to push you to require that other court to allow that case to open as a court of record with a free and independent jury. And that's what we need, and that's what we're working on. And people should support it.
Well, how about, you know, it's like some of these people, like with the credit card stuff and God knows what. I mean, in family court, I mean, I've heard stories that that's where they steal kids. I mean, it's like, to even put a foot in there, just do it in the mail. Just send them like an affidavit and say, you know, based on Constitution, you know, put... And all the stuff that exists now but hasn't been actually acknowledged, and a lot of us are scared because there's a lot of stuff going on inside of us. I mean, I've seen myself blame myself for not knowing all this and just getting over that hurdle, you know, and then thinking about how my mother and my grandmother, I mean, it's like, this is really hard. So just to not even acknowledge them, and what are they going to do? They're going to give you a bench warrant? Well, you know, that's criminal, and I mean, they can't. You know, this is where we need to have something that we don't have yet in our beings. You know. Sorry.
Look, the solution. Our founding fathers created and gave us the solution to problematic government. The problem is the people have lost their way. They're not properly educated. So it's time to educate yourself properly, which you can do right here.
Yeah.
You know, educate yourself properly, get involved with the Committee of Safety, start bringing the schools, forcing them to educate our children properly, to give them a proper education. And this is the only solution. And if people don't do that, then we don't deserve liberty. Okay, you know, Benjamin Franklin, I'm sure everybody heard this story, that when they finished their discussions and the government, you know, they came out of I guess, Congress or whatever you want to call it. Well, it was Congress because they came together as Congress. But they came out and it was asked, what kind of government do we have? Well, you have a republic if you can keep it. A republic requires government by consent. It requires the participation of the people. It requires an educated people who understands what's going on. And understanding what's going on is to understand the Constitution and the common law, which is just common sense with an eye on justice and restitution. That's all it is. It's not any more difficult than that. So, but the court procedure, the process, how things work, how due process works in the court is logical and simple. Once you see it, you're not going to forget it. It's just simple, okay? But again, people are too busy with their stupid phones, okay? That is a major problem. It takes attention away. They're busy watching these 2-minute, 10-minute videos all day long, and tweeting each other, and they're not reading books, they're not educating themselves, they're not paying attention what's going on with their children, and after all, they don't have time to get involved with a committee of safety. Well, give up all that junk, and you'll have plenty of time to participate in the committee of safety and get things really done in your community to take back and exercise your unalienable right for government by consent. That's what we need to do. I'll give you 1 minute to finish because we're over time.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm just, it's just that I've heard some stories of cases that people have done where I have to find it. I know it's in the Constitution, and I'll have to look it up because I don't have it in my mind yet, but we are not supposed to treat these people like they're gods. And
right.
They are breaking the law, and they need to be called on it on an affidavit, and if they don't respond in kind in 30 days, then they agree with it. And let's just, because they're not going to know what to do with that, and they're going to agree, and it becomes part of the facts, and just, I don't know. I appreciate your work so much. Yeah.
And collect that evidence, bring it together in a large volume, and that's what we've done with a lot of things here, by the way, and we should do that too also, but again, people need to get involved in order to do that. But, we got to go to the next call.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the call. And before we go to the next caller, just very quickly, because we're going to end the program in about 2 minutes or 3 minutes, remember, if anybody wants to assist us in taking this court case concerning the Leroy Finnegan assassination and to deal with this thing, you got to give us some donations, because I certainly don't have the money to do it. And if you go up to our donation tab here on the top right-hand side of our website, you click on that, and you can give your donation. And maybe put in a note, this is for the Leroy Finnegan, assassination case. But we have a powerful case. I think it's going to be very helpful in a lot of ways if we do this. But again, it's going to cost a couple of $1,000 to do, and we just don't have that money to be able to do it that way. So please, give us whatever you can. If we don't get enough money, then it'll just go into the general fund to pay for other things we're doing, because we're doing a lot. We're going to take a final caller, Felicia from Florida. You got the mic. We only got a couple of minutes, so sorry for the time.
Hello.
You got it. How you doing, Felicia?
Oh, last minute, 11:09. I'm gonna try to be real quick. Scientists are saying that we're having a alien invasion this November, saying it's coming beforehand within the next 2 weeks.
You mean Blue Beam or the borders?
No, scientists are saying that we're having an alien invasion in November, but then they put it up a couple of other weeks.
Okay, the scientists are saying this, but yeah, that's probably the Blue Beam they're trying to get going. Are you familiar with that? I think it's called Blue Beam.
Of course. But do you remember the documentary that I tried to send you years ago about a Dyson sphere that was coming, and you couldn't open it? You couldn't open it because they scratched it off of YouTube?
Okay, yeah, I've heard of Dyson spheres, and a couple of times they think they've discovered them, but there's no evidence of them out there. Not that we have found it.
Yeah. There's evidence of it because the astronaut that I know, he actually drew it for me. and I think I sent it years ago what he did. But anyway, as far as the foreclosures go,
Well, just on that last note, I think we have more to worry about than an alien invasion. I think we got other things to worry about more important than that, like maybe the Lord will be coming soon. And but people need to be focused in on what's right and wrong and what we need to do. But go ahead, you're going to change the subject. Go ahead.
There's a war in space because I see it every day here in Florida, so, and I videotaped it as well. But as far as
if you got anything you can, kind of send us to on the internet to look at, I'd look at anything. So I'll take a look at that.
I can actually send you my own footage.
Just send it to mail, MAIL, at nationallibertyalliance.org. Make sure you put there something about alien information or something, and then give us links or whatever, and I might take a look at that.
I actually have my own footage. I can actually email it to you, but I want to get on the foreclosures right quick. But I think it's strange that you have people that actually hire lawyers and they win their foreclosures, but then like for years I've been trying to go through you guys, and it's like a dead end. The people that moved into my house after they stole my deed actually moved out, and now they have this thing called title lock, to where they you could pay money for people to not actually go online and spend $30 to steal the deed for the house.
Right.
So I'm right now, I'm trying to figure out this whole thing about, how I'm supposed to get some kind of recollection from this, because there's a lawsuit somewhere here in Florida that I have a treasury in the state of Florida from the lawsuit of them stealing my house for like $250. And I'm not trying to do that because I already know that my signature has the cash value of the house. So I need to know what I actually need to do to get some kind of money.
Accounts, correct?
Second?
You're talking about the SESQ accounts?
I don't know. There's something in the state of Florida, since RC something lawyer company. In other words, they were sued for fraud.
Oh,
and
okay.
I guess we picked it all up. And, there's only $250, for the people that it was, that suffered consequences.
Yeah.
But I need to know what exactly I need to do to actually get remedy from this. I was on that process.
Well, the only way you're going to get remedy on you're talking about the house being foreclosed and taken from you, right?
They stole it. I mean, how is it that,
they
the
did
bank
it without the foreclosure then?
taking money out of my... How is it that the bank can be taking money out of my account?
I'm trying to understand, though, which way they took it. Did they took it through a non-judicial foreclosure, or did they just take it by being able to manipulate the system and change the title owner to someone else? Is that how they did it? Because I know of people that has happened to. And that's where the title lock
They were taking money out of my checking account from my bank account at Fairwinds for payments and put me in foreclosure and stopped me from making payments.
Well, did you
and they
report
stole
that?
my house.
Did you report that to the bank and to the sheriff? Did you report that thievery?
Yeah,
So then you're not liable for it. Then you're not liable for it, and that money should have been replaced.
But the thing is that they was taking money for payments out of my account and put me in foreclosure and stopped me from making payments and eventually stole my house. I mean. All
right. Well, look, if you wanna discuss this a little more, we should do this next week and get into the queue earlier, and we can discuss it more. But it's the end of the night, and it sounds like there's going to be a lot involved.
So, it's 11:15.
We're 15 minutes beyond, so I want to get to sleep. So.
Okay, no problem.
All right, so let's
have all that information.
Well, look, I get so much stuff. I don't even get
I
to see
know, I know.
stuff I get. Yeah, it's
I know.
just I'm overloaded. So,
You need
but
to get paid for your books that's on Amazon, though.
excuse me.
You need to
I'm
get
sorry.
paid for those 3 books on Amazon that's
Well,
under
I actually
somebody
get
else's
paid.
name.
I do get paid for my books on Amazon that I have put up there, of course, and that goes into NLA. I try to take out whatever I can, for living, but nevertheless, it first goes to NLA to pay bills. But yeah, there's a guy out there who's ripped off 3 of my books, and
I
he's
know. I got them.
yeah. So and I tried to talk to Amazon about this, but I just haven't had time to go through. I can't find the guy to go through a lawsuit. And I've been thinking about suing Amazon over this because they won't give me the information I need, and it's nothing that is anything that shouldn't be given to me. And I could get it, but then I got to go to court, and I just have the time at the moment. And but I also can't find the guy. I heard that he's in jail.
There's pages missing out of that book, too.
So, all right. Anyway, we're going to come to an end tonight. Appreciate the call here. We can talk again next week if you want. Okay. Okay. With that, we're going to close it down. Thank you. And again, people should do what they can do if they want to help us with this case. All right. Good night, everybody. Lord willing, we'll see you next Monday. Thanks for coming. Good night.